I like to think of the outcome-based grazing program as sort of a choose-your-own-adventure in the rangeland permitting world. We're grazing towards an outcome as opposed to grazing towards a prescription. And so we collaboratively build our definition of what that outcome is. The Outcome-Based Grazing Initiative was really born of the recognition that the lands are changing much quicker than our ability to respond to that. So there was a need to build those modifications, those flexibilities into the permit. So throughout the lifespan of the permit, the operator, the permittee, and the BLM could have real-time responses as needed.
Some years are drier than others, some are wetter. Sometimes there's snow on the ground still. We can move around based on the weather of that year, the climate conditions that exist in any given year.
Flexibility really entails the art side of the science and art of range management, which is having the ability to read what the land's doing and running grazing systems that fit that year, that fit that time.
It just gives you that flexibility to manage for the ground and a real-time response instead of calling somebody up and waiting 2 years, which is not an effective response. You can just call up on the phone and say, oh, I saw this today, why don't we do that? It's a game changer for the rancher because it lets them actually manage the land like it should be.
One of the core principles of the outcome-based grazing program is to improve those relationships, improve the collaboration, and manage the land together.
There's a lot of communication that goes on with the ranch and the BLM. We're thinking about what restoration treatments we're going to do in the future, and we're doing it through a phased approach. If we don't have that communication, there's no way to really plan, the long term of how we're going to get there.
The idea behind it is working together, figuring out what works best, not only for the land, but for the rancher, for what the BLM wants or needs. It's just a collaborative process.
I think the most important thing to do to build trust with ranchers is to understand their life. You have to understand their goals and what they want to do. And you have to spend time with them. You have to get out on the ground.
You pay attention to their concerns and you hear their input because they have been on the land for a long time and they have valuable input.
They're partners and neighbors. That's the way I approach permittees. And I have learned a tremendous amount of this piece of ground in Northwest Colorado from the permittees that I work with.
One thing about outcome-based grazing is that it does give these ranchers a large amount of flexibility, but it also gives them a large amount of accountability with that.
Because we have a program like this and the ranchers feel like they're more invested in it, they want this to succeed too.
It's fantastic, working with these permittees because we really truly know that they are in this for the long haul. They care about the land, and they want to leave it better than they have it now for their children, their grandkids.
Outcome-based grazing requires a significant sense of ownership in the process by the permittee as well as the BLM, and a sense of ownership in those objectives. They have to be shared objectives. And that sense of ownership from both parties is really the basis of accountability.